Welcome to Dark Radio, where the darkest true crime stories are brought to light. Today, we delve into the harrowing tale of a woman who faced the unimaginable, being abducted by a dangerous stranger, and instead of surrendering to fear, she fought back. This is the story of courage under extreme pressure, of a life hanging by a thread, and of a woman whose quick thinking and relentless will turn a nightmare into a story of survival. In a world where danger can appear when you least expect it, Anna's determination to resist and reclaim her life shows us that sometimes the strongest weapon is sheer bravery. Stay with us as we unfold how one woman stood up to her kidnapper and changed the course of her own fate. Anna was an ordinary woman living an ordinary life, or at least, that's how it seemed from the After the harrowing escape, Anna could barely catch her breath, but her mind refused to rest. Every sound, every shadow, every passing figure seemed amplified, as if the city itself were alerting her to the danger she had narrowly evaded. She sat in the cafe, wrapped in a blanket offered by a kindly staff member, recounting the terrifying minutes over and over in her mind. Each detail mattered: the angle at which he approached, the way his hands gripped her arm, the tone in his voice, because these would become crucial for the police report and for understanding how she had survived. While the police investigated, Anna was escorted to a safe location. It was a temporary refuge, yet even in safety, she could not shake the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Her senses were hyper-aware. The distant sound of footsteps or the screech of brakes made her flinch. But she also felt an unexpected surge of empowerment. Against all odds, she had fought back. She had not been passive, and in doing so, she had claimed her life back. The investigation began in earnest. Officers reviewed traffic camera footage, interviewed bystanders, and checked local crime reports. Anna's detailed observations provided a roadmap through the chaos of her memory. She remembered the man's stance, the way he adjusted his hat, the sound of his voice when he barked orders, all small clues, yet combined they painted a portrait of the attacker. Law enforcement quickly realized that Anna's account was not only precise but extraordinary in its clarity under duress. In the days that followed, Anna became the focal point of a careful and thorough manhunt. Authorities issued alerts, contacted surrounding jurisdictions, and tracked patterns consistent with her description. For Anna, each day was a delicate balance between continuing her life and staying vigilant. Her work, previously routine and mundane, now carried an undertone of tension. Every stranger on the street became a potential threat, every unexpected phone call a possible danger. Yet she refused to let fear dominate her existence. Anna also sought support. Friends and family rallied around her, offering reassurance, company, and practical advice. Counseling helped her process the trauma, but she also trained herself mentally to remain alert without succumbing to paranoia. She studied self-defense techniques, mapped escape routes in her neighborhood, and reviewed emergency protocols. This was more than precaution. It was a reclamation of agency, a way to ensure that should danger arise again, she would not be powerless. Meanwhile, the investigation began yielding results. The man had been observed loitering near several other potential targets, but thanks to Anna's detailed report, authorities were able to establish a pattern. Detectives pieced together his movements, noting his car type, approximate routes, and likely hiding spots. Anna's courage had not only protected herself but potentially prevented future attacks. Her actions provided a blueprint for survival that law enforcement could use to anticipate and intercept his actions. Despite the ongoing investigation, Anna's life slowly began to regain a semblance of normalcy. She returned to her apartment under heightened awareness, yet with the knowledge that she had faced the unimaginable and prevailed. Each small victory, from walking to the store to returning to her workplace, reinforced a growing sense of self-reliance and empowerment. She was no longer merely a victim of circumstance. She had become an active agent in her own survival story. This part of Anna's journey illustrates a profound truth. Courage is not simply the absence of fear, but the mastery of fear in moments when inaction could cost a life. Anna's meticulous attention to detail, quick thinking, and unyielding spirit became both a shield and a sword. It was a vivid lesson in how days turned into weeks, and the investigation into Anna's attempted abduction grew more complex. Detectives meticulously examined the crime scene, cross-referenced Anna's descriptions with neighborhood surveillance cameras, and began piecing together the patterns of the suspect. Every tiny detail Anna had observed, the way he walked, how he approached her car, even subtle cues in his speech, proved invaluable. In a strange way, Her terror had sharpened her perception, transforming fear into a tool for survival and justice. Anna, meanwhile, had become intensely aware of her environment. Simple actions, like walking to the corner store or returning from work, were now calculated exercises in vigilance. She noticed parked cars, unfamiliar faces, and unusual movements. At first, the heightened awareness was exhausting, but over time it became second nature. Her friends noticed a subtle change. She was more alert, confident, and prepared to act if needed. This was not paranoia, it was empowerment forged in fire. One evening, Anna revisited the street where the attempted abduction had occurred. She walked slowly, analyzing escape routes, noting potential witnesses, and imagining how she could respond if confronted again. Each step was both a confrontation with fear and a reclamation of space. She was determined not to let a single incident dictate her life. The city itself, once a neutral backdrop, had become a stage for her courage. Every lamppost, alley, and doorway was a silent partner in her ongoing vigilance. Meanwhile, detectives began to narrow down suspects. The man Anna described had a history of minor offenses, loitering, harassment, and other aggressive behaviors, but nothing as severe as the attempted abduction. The investigation team understood that time was critical. Each day the man remained at large increased the risk to others. Anna's cooperation became pivotal. She studied sketches, reviewed police bulletins, and provided insight into his likely behaviors. Her role evolved from survivor to active participant in preventing further crimes. The psychological toll, however, was significant. Sleep was difficult. Anna experienced flashbacks, the sudden sound of a car door slamming or a footstep behind her evoking memories of the abduction. She learned to channel these reactions into preparation rather than panic. Self-defense classes became a daily ritual, and she practiced escape techniques repeatedly. Her body remembered the struggle in the car, every twist and turn, every shove and kick. Muscle memory, she realized, could be as vital as intellect in moments of crisis. Through it all, Anna also reflected on her personal growth. Before the abduction attempt, she had been cautious but mostly passive, trusting that ordinary vigilance was sufficient. Now, she understood that danger could strike anywhere, and survival required both awareness and action. She read articles on previous cases of abductions, learned from survivors' accounts, and absorbed every possible lesson to enhance her readiness. Her intellect and courage had become a shield, her determination a weapon. The investigation reached a turning point when the police identified a potential vehicle connected to Anna's description. Surveillance footage matched the timeline, and further interviews with neighbors revealed sightings of the suspect in nearby areas. The law was closing in, but Anna remained in a state of tense alertness, knowing that until the man was apprehended, she could not fully relax. Every shadow in a doorway or unfamiliar car passing by reminded her that the ordeal was not yet entirely over. Yet amidst the tension, a quiet pride began to grow. Anna had survived the impossible, fought back when threatened, and contributed actively to bringing a criminal to justice. She had transformed a moment of terror into a narrative of empowerment, demonstrating that resilience and courage could flourish even in the darkest circumstances. Her story was no longer only about fear, it was about agency, resourcefulness, and the remarkable strength of the human spirit in the face of imminent danger. By the fourth week following the attempted abduction, Anna's life had settled into a cautious rhythm. The immediate terror had faded, replaced by a vigilant, almost methodical awareness. She monitored her surroundings constantly, noticing the pattern of cars on her street, unfamiliar faces in the neighborhood, and even small changes in the flow of pedestrian traffic. Anna had transformed her fear into a tool, a heightened alertness that allowed her to navigate daily life with extraordinary awareness. At the same time, the investigation intensified. Detectives combed through surveillance footage from multiple intersections, examining license plates, pedestrian interactions, and suspicious behavior. They conducted door-to-door interviews in surrounding neighborhoods, hoping to catch glimpses of the man Anna had described. Anna worked closely with the team, identifying minor inconsistencies in suspect descriptions, suggesting areas to focus on, and providing insight into behavioral patterns that only a survivor would notice. Her input became indispensable, guiding law enforcement through the chaos of limited evidence. Anna's evenings were often spent replaying the events of the attack in her mind, not as a form of torture but as careful analysis. She mentally reconstructed each movement, each interaction, trying to understand how the man approached, how he might have planned his actions, and what she could do if confronted again. She created escape plans, memorized alternate routes, and practiced self-defense techniques repeatedly. Her body remembered the struggle in minute detail, every twist, every shove, every kick. Muscle memory and mental preparation had become her twin shields. Despite these preparations, Anna's emotional landscape was complex. Moments of anxiety surged unpredictably, triggered by the smallest cues, a door slamming, a figure appearing in the shadows, or the low hum of a car engine. She channeled this anxiety into strategic action, reinforcing her apartment security, arranging her daily routines to avoid isolation, and maintaining close contact with friends and family. The terror of the past became a lens through which she interpreted the world, sharpening her instincts and forcing her to make precise, deliberate choices. The investigation reached a critical juncture when detectives identified a pattern linking her attempted abduction to a series of suspicious behaviors in adjacent neighborhoods. Vehicle sightings, reports of a man loitering near potential victims, and minor criminal records coalesced into a profile. Anna's meticulous observations were central to the investigation, allowing the police to focus on a few key suspects. Each day, her cooperation increased the likelihood that the man would be apprehended before he could harm anyone else. Anna also began to reflect deeply on the nature of fear and resilience. Before the attack, she had assumed danger was remote, that careful behavior and good judgment were sufficient. Now she understood that survival demanded more: vigilance, preparedness, and the courage to act decisively in moments when hesitation could be fatal. She documented her experiences, recording thoughts, observations, and lessons learned, not just for her own clarity but to serve as guidance for others who might face similar dangers. Socially, Anna's relationships shifted subtly. Friends noticed a blend of determination and wariness, an inner strength tempered by a vivid awareness of the world's fragility. Her family, initially fearful, gradually witnessed the transformation. A woman once ordinary, now extraordinarily alert, capable of strategic thinking under pressure, and unwavering in her commitment to safety. Anna's personal growth, forged in the crucible of trauma, had become a testament to human adaptability and courage. As the investigation continued, Anna realized that surviving the abduction had not only saved her life but had also changed her fundamentally. She had moved from fear to empowerment, from passivity to agency. Her experiences provided an extraordinary case study in the power of human resilience, illustrating how ordinary individuals can confront extraordinary danger, use intelligence and courage as shields, and ultimately reclaim control over their lives. By the time the police had sufficient leads to focus on a suspect, Anna's proactive involvement had ensured that every possible avenue was explored. Her courage, meticulous observation, and refusal to be paralyzed by fear had created the conditions necessary for justice to be served. And yet, despite this growing sense of empowerment, Anna remained humble, knowing that survival was never guaranteed, and vigilance was always required. As weeks turned into months, Anna's life slowly began to regain a semblance of normalcy, yet the shadow of the attempted abduction lingered. Every day was measured, every routine carefully examined. Even mundane actions, walking to the grocery store, commuting to work, or answering the door, were executed with heightened awareness. She had learned that ordinary vigilance was no longer enough. Survival required an extraordinary combination of foresight, mental clarity, and physical readiness. The investigation, meanwhile, had begun to converge on a primary suspect. Anna's detailed observations had guided detectives to examine specific neighborhoods, surveillance cameras, and potential witnesses. Each clue she provided, no matter how small, a movement in a car, a tone of voice, or the position of the attacker's hands, helped build a precise profile. The authorities recognized that Anna's mind had functioned with clarity under extreme stress, converting terror into actionable intelligence. Anna also underwent extensive debriefings with law enforcement. Each session was exhaustive, recounting every detail with painstaking accuracy. She described the suspect's clothing, approximate height, gait, the vehicle type, and even peculiar habits she had noticed in the few tense minutes of the attack. These interviews were not merely procedural. They were strategic, enabling the police to narrow the search area and anticipate the suspect's next moves. At home, Anna fortified her environment. Locks were reinforced, security cameras installed, and windows double-checked. She even mapped multiple escape routes from every room, rehearsing them mentally until they became second nature. Every action, however small, reinforced her sense of control over a situation that had once seemed completely beyond her power. This careful planning was not paranoia, it was empowerment. Anna had transformed fear into preparation. Emotionally, Anna oscillated between lingering anxiety and growing confidence. Nightmares sometimes returned, vivid replays of the man's approach, the struggle in the car, the adrenaline-fueled escape. But she refused to let these episodes dominate her life. Therapy sessions, self-reflection, and support from friends and family allowed her to channel trauma into resilience. Her mind became a tool for survival, analyzing each scenario, rehearsing responses, and building both physical and mental strength. The turning point came when the police finally identified the suspect's likely location. With the suspect finally apprehended, Anna could begin to feel a cautious sense of closure. The months of fear, vigilance, and mental preparation were no longer overshadowed by the immediate threat of danger. Yet even in this relief, she understood that the experience had irrevocably changed her. Anna was no longer the same woman who had walked down that quiet street weeks earlier. She had become someone profoundly aware, resilient, and capable of taking decisive action in the face of mortal peril. Authorities commended her bravery. Her detailed account, unwavering cooperation, and strategic thinking had been pivotal in identifying and capturing the man. What might have been a tragic case became a story of survival and triumph because Anna had refused to be a passive victim. She had transformed terror into empowerment, demonstrating the extraordinary power of human instinct, intelligence, and courage. As life gradually returned to normal, Anna continued to take precautions, but she did so not out of fear but from wisdom gained through experience. Each morning, she would review her routines, mindful of the lessons learned, yet determined not to allow past trauma to dominate her future. The balance she struck between awareness and living freely became a blueprint for her ongoing safety and personal growth. In the months that followed, Anna shared her story publicly. She spoke to local groups about situational awareness, self-defense, and the mental strategies that had helped her survive. Her experiences resonated with countless others, inspiring them to prepare for the unexpected, to trust their instincts, and to understand that ordinary people possess extraordinary strength when confronted with danger. Anna had become not just a survivor, but a teacher and symbol of resilience. Reflecting on the ordeal, she realized that true courage does not come from the absence of fear, but from the mastery of it. She had faced an almost unimaginable threat and had emerged victorious through presence of mind, strategic thinking, and sheer determination. Her story serves as a reminder that in moments when life hangs by a thread, ordinary individuals can summon extraordinary courage, changing the outcome against all odds. This tale of survival stands as a testament to the human spirit. Anna's fight against her kidnapper exemplifies that even in the darkest moments, bravery, intelligence, and vigilance can illuminate a path to safety. Her journey underscores the truth that every person, regardless of their ordinary circumstances, has the capacity to act decisively and protect themselves when faced with life-threatening danger. If the shadows of this story unsettled you, you're not alone. Evil often hides behind the most